In fact, I just want to add on at this point, right? I mean, in this world where there's so much information going around, people might think that, hey, actually I can just go on YouTube to learn. I can, learn from all the Telegram groups giving all the stock tips. I just follow them and I'll profit from it, right? But the thing is, how do you know which one of them is legit? How do you know what they teach actually has a profitable, it's actually a profitable strategy?
Hi, welcome to another show of Market Wizard. And I'm so happy to have Desmond joining me from Singapore. And Desmond is one of my Market Wizard. And you know the story about Market Wizard. These are the real traders from Main Street who have accomplished certain goals and taken it to a consistent success in their options and stocks and investing journey as well. So welcome, Desmond, to the show.
Thank you, Manoj. Thanks.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you from? What get you started in options trading, Desmond?
Sure. My name is Desmond. I'm 32 this year and I'm from Singapore. I have a background in management and psychology. So after graduating from uni, I was actually blessed with a scholarship in the public sector. And I actually had the privilege of account managing some of these Fortune 500 companies and helping these businesses to transform and grow. And then shortly after, I moved on, and now I'm a business consultant, actually advising manufacturing companies on their corporate strategy. Yeah. And then how I got started in options trading, I think I like the idea. I mean, I like the idea of money working for me, and I don't like the idea of it sitting in the bank account earning 0.3% interest. So if you do count and endowment insurance as a form of investing, I actually started at 14 years old. But if you exclude that, I actually started at 21 years old, and that was where I began in the local Singapore stock market, and I started with the fundamental approach, which is I think where most of people start as well. And I did a lot of stuff on value investing. I have been doing pretty well. Then it was fast forward until say last year January. And then I saw the US markets plummeting quite badly. So my friend actually introduced me to these options. Then he was telling me that, hey, since you're doing so well in value investing, I think options will help you to accelerate your returns further. So I was like, okay, do you mind sharing more about the mechanics and how do I profit from it? Yeah. So it was at this turning point. Right? This was a very important turning point because at the point of time I thought that, hey, he would be actually willing to share all the so-called nitty-gritty stuff with me. But in fact, he actually he was very hesitant. He was very reluctant about it. And at that point of time, I was so disappointed. I was like very frustrated. I was very upset with him. So at that point of time, right, I tried to channel my frustration, right, and I dive really deep into the world of options. I vowed to myself that I will master options and I'll make sure that I get something out of this crisis. I'll turn the crisis into opportunity. Yeah. So thereafter, I actually invested in quite a number of courses, and all of which, of course, is your OptionPundit's courses, and I have benefited tremendously, from this COVID crash. And to date, I think I've earned more than 200,000 USD from this crisis, and definitely there's more to come from this, and it's really a lifelong skill that's definitely worth having, in a sense. Yeah.
Well, that's been fantastic. So you began getting interested into investing when you were 14 years old, then around 21, and since then you have been going through the traditional route, which is really learning about fundamental investing and making sure you understand how market function very well, and then finally getting into options world as well. And I'm so glad to have you in OptionPundit program as well, Desmond. Really wonderful to have you. As you went through this entire journey, I'm pretty sure, or maybe you could share a little perspective about education. How do you think education played a role in your journey, investment journey, Desmond?
Yeah, I think education is the most important part of the entire journey. I mean, a lot of people try to scream and save this few $1,000s only to lose it back to the markets, and I don't think that is that's a very wise move. And I think everyone should really invest as much as possible into their own education. Investing in yourself is the first step to compounding your returns. It's not about the profits from the market. It's about the returns that you get from having all this knowledge and applying the knowledge to make profits for yourself and for a lifetime. So I think it's really important. Yeah. correct.
If you think about it, why people tend to think. I mean, if I think about it, is like because the barriers are not there. So if you want to go into trading, it's simply, oh, I will just open an account with a broker, fund with a few $1,000s, and I can get started. It sounds so easy. But
Exactly.
the fact is, there is almost zero margin for error.
Yeah.
And it's if you do not know what's happening. And the worst is that initially we make money and then suddenly we realize, oh, we know everything. And then is the shock, the market gives the shock and saying, hey, actually, you don't know anything. And why would this be different from any business? It's
Yeah.
exactly like any other business that needs to be understood and needs to be taken care very, very well.
Yeah, I just want to add on at this point, right? I mean, in this world where there's so much information going around, people might think that, hey, actually I can just go on YouTube to learn. I can, learn from all the Telegram groups giving all the stock tips. I just follow them and I'll profit from it, right? But the thing is, how do you know which one of them is legit? How do you know what they teach actually has a profitable, it's
Yeah,
actually a profitable strategy?
yeah.
Can you actually verify, that they are the real guru in a sense? So a lot of people fall into that trap, and they think that, hey, just because you speak very confidently means that you can actually profit from it. But that's actually quite far from the truth, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
I think that's a very, very valid point.
Yeah,
Now, could you explain a little bit more about that? Because that involves even Option Pandit as a service into
yeah,
it. So, what difference that you found in Option Pandit or education? You're part of my inner circle group as well,
yeah.
right? And you've gone through multiple type of strategies and trainings. So, what difference do you find in Option Pandit compared to say other courses or anything you have done without naming anyone?
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say that whenever before I put my investment before I put my investment into anything, I will do very deep research. I will make sure that it's worth my money in that sense. So they always say that value is what you get, price is what you pay. So I want to make sure I get the most value out of every course that I go to. And I think for Option Pandit, the previous so the thing is that before going to Option Pandit, I attended quite a number of other courses as well. And then I realized that, hey, actually some of these people actually learned from you before. So I went to check you out and I went to attend some of your seminars, and I actually studied some of your strategies, whether it makes sense or not. And I taught for a very long time because, to be honest, the course fees wasn't cheap. But I just want to say here that I would think that the value is definitely worth it. I mean, for the amount of profit I've generated, for the knowledge that I can keep over the course of my lifetime, and how I can benefit from it, I think it's really worth it in a sense. Yeah.
It truly reflects in your thinking,
Yeah.
like looking at long term, looking at the skills and the lifelong stream that can
Yeah.
be generated.
Yeah.
And I think that's really one of the finest way to look at the value of education.
Yeah.
As such, it's intangible. You don't get really, something you can bring it back home that, okay, I've got this thing, it's worth this much or not. But you got to look at it. What is it you can do with this education?
Yeah.
So looking at your journey, which essentially began in COVID crash period, right?
Yeah.
And since then, you have generated about $200,000 on portfolio. Now, could you give a little bit of insight about, like, is your portfolio into multi-millions or into six figures? Because I also don't want people to have an impression that maybe you have multi-millions and then you generate 200. So could you give in terms of percentage that would be on your portfolio?
You mean in terms of my trading portfolio?
Yes, yes.
So for my trading portfolio, I started with around 30, and then I slowly increased it up all the way up to 80 to around 100. Yeah.
Okay.
And after that, it tripled in a sense. Yeah.
So it tripled in last year. So basically, if I were to say on a simple basis, let's say you started with $100,000 and you generated $200,000 profit on this. Yeah. So those viewers who are watching, this 200,000 wasn't on multi-million dollar account. It was actually tripled based upon a 100K portfolio that Desmond started, and that was in thick and thin of COVID crash that was happening. And of course, he built the confidence, he built the strategies, he built the right portfolio of education also to make sure that he can tap onto it. So make sure that's absolutely clear. Now, I would like to know, this period wasn't the easy one. And you were trading an option, meaning the implied volatilities were very high as well. And there were extreme volatility in the stock market. So what did you do? Like, how did you manage all that ride? What worked for you?
I think there's quite a number of different things to consider. So I think first things first, we need to diversify our strategies. So I think as a beginner, we will all start with buy calls, sell puts, and then when the crash happens, then you realize that hey, I don't have enough margin. I'm gonna get a margin call. then you give you a wake up call that hey, actually, having just two tools to work the market isn't enough. Each tool represents a different outlook of the market, and even if, say, for example, I'm very bullish about the market, it doesn't mean that the market will go my way. It can go any other way.
So,
Yeah. So the first lesson I learned was actually, I shouldn't be too, overconfident about the market. Even though, there's a confluence of factors, everything is hitting all the right spots and it's the perfect so-called setup.
Right.
I shouldn't still, go all in. I shouldn't use strategies that are overly bullish, like for example, like using synthetic as one of the strategies, that kind of thing. So I would say mildly bullish strategies has worked pretty well for me so far. Diagonals will be one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So those viewers who are watching it and they do not know what synthetic is, let me explain synthetic. Synthetic is basically you can use options to create a stock situation. So for example, let's say as opposed to buying 100 shares of Apple, you may decide to buy one call option and finance it via selling put. So when you're buying call option, you get 50 delta of call option, assuming your opening 50 delta. And by selling the put, you're also getting positive 50 delta. So this negative 50 or positive 50 from selling put and positive 50 from call actually gives you 100 delta. And this 100 delta is equivalent to like you're buying 100 shares. So basically, it's exactly like that. The other name for synthetics in multiple variations of options is also called risk reversals. So you can create vertical spreads, which forms the similar kind of risk profile as it will be with the stocks. But the simplest form to think about is simply you're buying call and you are selling puts to replace or create the stock positions in your portfolio. So I understood that, synthetics, and then later on, basically the diagonals have started to work for you. And if I remember from our one-to-one conversations as well during private coachings, I know that, you focused primarily on the growth investing. And growth investing has been an area that some people liked it and some people were very scared of it. So how did you manage your emotions and how did you work out the strategies you wanted to choose for growth investing?
I think one of the easier ways a beginner can start with growth stocks is to actually study the past price action of the stock itself. So for example, say if you talk about say Tesla or even Amazon or some other stock, right? Let's just say that in the past 2 years, what was the biggest drop that ever happened? Say for example, it's 60%. So I asked myself, let's just say I put $10,000 into Amazon right now, and if it drops 60%, and then it stays there for the next 1 year, will I be able to take it or not? Will I have the risk tolerance in that sense? So I ask myself, and I make sure that that is the answer that I am truthfully willing to swallow in that sense. And if I say yes, then I will go ahead with that. So that is like one of the most basic things that you can do. And secondly, I think because of my background, and I actually do a lot of consulting with companies, and I tell them about all the future business trends. I know where are the tailwinds that's coming, so I know roughly in terms of the macro environment, what are the factors that will cause the companies to propel forward instead of being in a languishing industry in that sense. So I put my bets on those which have tailwinds.
And other thing will also be together with that, because when you are selling options on the, and by the way, when we are talking about selling, Desmond is not selling naked calls, right, Desmond, to confirm that?
Correct. That's right.
So we are selling naked puts. And when you're selling naked puts, that's the only time, like if the stock crashes to your strike point, this means that you will have to take the delivery of the shares. Now, there are other things also associated with growth investing. When you're trading growth, you are getting good premiums because those are volatile and the premium happens to be higher. So you can go very far and still generate some income from it. But once again, it's not for everyone unless you really understand what's the business behind it. So other than selling puts and diagonals, any other strategies that has been your favorite, Desmond, during this period?
I think one of the most interesting strategies I learned from you is the put calendar spread. and the way, I think the way you execute it is very different from what is being taught online. And with that, it's interesting to see that I can, you know, profit even from Tesla being such a bullish, crazily bullish cult-like stock. Yeah. So I've been waiting for opportunities lah to enter such, you know, so-called bearish moves, and I think it's interesting.
Yeah. In fact, a great example that reminds me was GameStop. Remember in the GameStop, we saw the short squeeze.
Yeah.
And because the way the trade was structured, that even though GameStop rallied so much, our calendars and our put options were still making money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the beauty of trading it that way. So do you also trade stocks? Do you also invest in stocks, or primarily on options only, Desmond?
Yeah, so I used to start from FA, and then nowadays I am more drifting towards technical analysis, and then my trading time frame has also shrunk in a sense.
Yeah.
So probably I would say 50% long term, 10%, 30 to 40% are options in a sense.
Okay.
Yeah, thereabouts. Yeah.
So the long term meaning long term stocks or long term?
Yeah, correct. Long term stocks. Yeah.
Long term stocks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much time do you invest or do you spend in trading and investing?
Oh, I think people will be surprised. So a lot of people will actually I have a lot of trader friends, and then they'll actually message me at night, and I only reply the next morning, and usually it's at 6 a.m. because I wake up at 6 a.m. to go for my exercise. And then they'll be like, hey, how come you only reply at 6 a.m.? So I always tell them, hey, I sleep. The latest I sleep is 11:30. Yeah. I never go beyond that unless there's an emergency or a crisis lah, which is pretty rare lah, I would say. So I would say on average I spend less than 1.5 hours daily. I don't trade every day anyway. Yeah. So maybe 2
So
hours.
those who are watching this, because Desmond is in my inner circle program as well, and I know I hardly see any message from Desmond after 11:30. You know, I don't see messages coming from him after the time. Yes, during the day there will be messages, but in the night he doesn't. Well, that's fantastic. So in 1.5 hours, I'm sure you must be doing your research some other time. Like, could you share a little bit? Could you give us an insight about your trading day per se? Just, you know, how you begin your trading, how do you find out your ideas, and how do you execute them?
So one of the things I do in a day is I will mark out all the support points of my favorite stocks. I will indicate the intrinsic value of some of the stocks that I'm interested to hold or trade, and that I want to expand on that a little bit, because that actually helps me with my psychology, you see. So even though I say I trade based on TA, right, having that mindset that, hey, actually it's still, when I'm trading it, even though it has gone down, it is still undervalued. That means I still have some margin of safety before it recovers. So that helps with my holding power line in that sense, and that improves the mindset. Yeah, and then I will go through a lot of charts to see whether there's any opportunities for our MRB, 5D, PP33, or, you know, some other, and I'll see if there's any other stable trades that I can do. For example, like our iron condors these days, or even butterflies. Yeah, correct. Yeah,
that's kind of very interesting. So you're looking at stocks, then you're looking at the intrinsic value, then you're also looking at technical analysis, and then you are structuring solid trades based upon a system, and then you're going in. So viewers, if you're watching and if you think that Desmond double or triple his portfolio out of the blue, it's not. I mean, look at the amount of work which is being put in place. It's about knowing your strategy and your situation, right? Because, you know, if you know about that stock and you know the intrinsic value, it gives you solid conviction. It allows you to hold on during the turbulent time. And those time may also be the time when you actually want to have more. So how do you get that? You only get that through solid analysis, really understanding what kind of things you would like to hold on. And then you build it with the strategies so that you can manage your risk as well. So Desmond, coming and thinking about the risk, what percentage of your portfolio are you invested usually? And what do you do to manage your risk?
Typically I will only invest 50%, max 50% of my portfolio, and that is to allow for buffers when, you know, the market crashes or the market corrects deeply, in a sense. Yeah. What was the other question again? Sorry.
How do you manage your risk in a position? Because you're selling puts And
Right.
of course, I understand you mentioned that you will define the intrinsic value, but
Mm.
sometimes, like, we saw an example of Boeing,
Yeah.
during the COVID crash, and before that, it was the Max 777 something that was happening, and
Mm.
the Boeing was on a downward spiral. And
Mm.
after COVID, almost it reached to below $100.
Mm.
So during that time, a lot of people's conviction will also be, disappearing and saying, "Hey, do I really want to hold on to it?" So
Yeah.
how do you manage these situations?
Yeah. So initially, when I first started my trading journey, I think I sold a lot of puts, and I was allured by the juicy premiums that a lot of stocks offered, and some can be as high as 10% to 15% a month, and that will be really crazy, so-called crazy profit margins in that sense. But after a while, you realize that actually it's not wise to put your entire portfolio at risk in that sense, because
Yeah.
once the market tanks, you're gonna you know the margin requirements are gonna go up very significantly. Yeah, so I mean there's a lot of ways to hedge. So for example, if you have a sell put now, you can buy a put to hedge it and turn it into a vertical spread. Or if you have a vertical spread and you want to hedge it further, you can sell a backhaul spread to turn it into an iron condor, or you can turn it into a butterfly. Many other ways to hedge, or you can simply cut your positions and then wait for a bounce to re-enter again.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think those are some very, very interesting points. So for the viewers who do not know what is a vertical spread, we can provide you a link. Just watch the video. There will be a link to see what is a vertical spread. But in nutshell, in vertical spread, basically you are buying an option and you are selling another option, and both needs to be the same month. You can choose the strikes and the premium depending upon what strategy and system you are using. But essentially, it involves two options and of the same expiration. And there are two types of spreads that Desmond mentioned. One is the bull put spread, which is bullish. Another one is a bear call spread that involves both call options, and it is typically a bearish spread. So what does an iron condor means? It will have one bullish spread and one bearish spread. And when you combine these two, so basically you are collecting premium on both the sides, and it makes money as long as the underlying asset or the stock remains within that profitable zone. So it doesn't matter. Market can play ping pong between those ranges, yeah, and you will still be able to collect the profit. Butterfly, etc., are the multiple variations of condors in a way, because those also involves four legs. But we will not go into more details of it. You can read the articles or previous blog posts to find out what butterfly is. I think that's a very, very good insight. Thank you, Desmond, for sharing how you are managing your risk and how you allocate in terms of portfolio as well. Now, this has been an interesting journey, and I've also seen you growing rapidly. And when the opportunities are right, you actually go full on. So people should not just assume that 50% is always all the time. There are some time when you can actually use up more capital because it's backed by the statistical data, backed by historical performance of the stock market. For example, like the Santa Claus rally or the New Year rallies, or soon after presidential elections, there are certain times when you can take more risk as well. So my next question around that, Desmond, will be: what was your biggest mistake, or maybe one or two biggest mistakes, and what did you learn from that?
Yeah, I remember very clearly that first huge mistake that I made, because just now I was talking about synthetic, right? I remember telling you in my coaching call that I did a synthetic on Datadog when it was at an all-time high, because I was set up for a breakout trade, and eventually it tanked like crazy, and then I lost, I think, almost like 40,000 USD. Yeah, but after that, of course, it recovered all the way back because it's a growth stock anyway, so it's volatile, and I know that it will recover. But of course, at that point of time, I
Yeah,
really doubted myself for a while. I was like, why did this happen? Am I wrong? Did I analyze incorrectly? So I went back to my journal. I go and check, hey, is there anything that I spotted wrongly? That's why my trade went wrong. But the truth is, nothing was wrong. The process was correct, but the trade went badly. So
yeah,
I think the lesson in this is that the important part is the process. It's not about the result. I mean, there's nothing you can do about what the market wants to do. The market does what it wants to do,
yeah,
but what you can control is the process. And I think that is the most important thing that a good trader can do in that sense. And once you are consistent in your process, you make sure that every trade you do fulfills all these parameters that you have set for yourself, then you'll be consistently profitable from then on. But if not, you're just gambling in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
I think that's an excellent insight.
Yeah.
And if I could add a little bit for the viewers, how do you, even though you may have a process right, even though you have your analysis right, but as Desmond mentioned, that the market can still go, irrational. So how do you manage your emotion? One of the key thing is allocation. If you allocate capital rightly, you can hold on to it. But if you allocate it too much and it goes completely against you, you will have margin calls, you will have lots of issues, you will lose your conviction, you will doubt your process, you will doubt your skills. And then ultimately what will happen? You will cut your position at the worst possible time. Then you wouldn't have any time to recover it. So marry the two opinion that just we mentioned, and I hope you find that to be quite useful. Any other mistake that you would like to share with us that my viewers can learn from it?
Any other mistake? Let me think. Is there any other mistake? There were points. I mean, there were different points in time when I went too heavy in on one position, and that is a very that's a very newbie mistake. But even as even after you have traded for 1 year, sometimes you just forget about it, and then you get greedy, and then you enter more. And when you enter more, that's when the market gives you a slap. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always learn from all these experiences, and then I will always tell myself, hey, don't be so greedy. It's okay to earn lesser than other people. And
so
also
when Desmond mentioned that going heavy, this means over allocating. Am I right by that?
That's right. That's right.
Allocation.
That's right. Because on the other hand, I think I have also been affected by comparing myself to other people's performance. So I see that some other people, they can do 10x, 20x, 30x. And I'm like, how can this be? What am I doing? What am I doing that they are doing differently from me, that they can do 10x but I can only do 3x. So I will try to outperform them, and in the end it will hurt my own performance. And then I will realize that actually we are all, number one, we are all on our own journeys, and number two, you don't know what kind of risk is that person taking. You don't know what kind of capital allocation they are taking. You don't know what kind of strategies they are using. They might be willing to lose 100% of their capital for all you know, and that is why they can achieve that 10x. Yeah, but for me, I mean, I have my own different set of goals and strategies, so I should just follow my own path.
Yeah.
So that's the lesson to learn here. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Similarly, what are your biggest learning where you had the biggest profit, or something that you're really proud of you did and it turned out to be great results?
I don't think there is any one single trade that is very memorable, but I have traded some stocks that over time you get a good sensing of where that stock is going to move. So one of them is Fastly, I think you know as well.
Yeah.
I traded Fastly for quite a number of times, and in out a lot of times, and I always manage to catch it at the lows and the highs. Just nice in that sense.
Yeah.
So one of the lessons there is also that you don't have to have too many stocks on your watch list. Just focus on a bunch of them, and then you try to master the intangible portion of it. Sometimes you just it can't be explained by words in a sense, but after you have traded them for some period of time, where is it going to move, and it's not just using indicators, not just using moving averages and things like that. Yeah.
One of the examples that comes to my mind is stock pinning. On Fridays we have the stock pinnings, and then that I define into multiple zones. You can have the initial zone, which is volatile zone, and then there is a dead zone, and then finally, lastly, is the exploration zone. And during the time, we can also see, the stock just goes sideways, and then suddenly, just before the markets are about to close, the stock moves towards the pinning thing. And that can only happen if you've watched that stock time and time again. Otherwise, you can't really make a sense about that particular stock. So you're absolutely right for that. It's not really about indicator, but it's more about how much do you know about that company as such. And I remember even on Fastly, when we had a lot of conversation, and I do remember very clearly you mentioned that, Manoj, you see, this is going to be at that price. We're not going to talk about the price, but in the end, just for a few weeks, yes, it was under so much of volatility that it will shake everybody's conviction. And then finally, of course, it reached out and went to the level that we had discussed. So for the viewers who are watching this, it may come as abnormal to you. But the thing is, once you have watched a particular stock for a certain time very closely, you will start to understand the character behind that particular company or the stock move on a certain day. And even many of the market makers, they're also not looking chart indicators all the time, especially, when the decision needs to be made very quickly. And at that point of time, price levels comes very, very handy. So pay attention, very close attention to the stocks that you're watching. Now, I would like to go into maybe structuring one or two trade for the benefit of the viewers, Desmond. So could you take example of any of your favorite growth stock and develop a trade structure for them to follow along? And of course, with the usual disclaimer that this is not an advice, this is not the the panacea or the holy grail of the world. This is Desmond style, and you're free to throw it or keep it or modify it. But this is just for confirmation. This is just for entertainment and give you some education around that strategy.
Yeah, sure. So I'm looking at Amazon charts right now. It's sitting on 200 SMA, and I think it is a pretty attractive price to go in, and I think we can have some safety of margin by using a pretty out of the money bull put spread. So we can do a 29.50 and a 29.30 bull put on that.
29.50, 29.30 bull put spread. So those who do not know what is a bull put spread, it benefits if the stock either remains at the same place or above the short strike, or if it keeps going up. So there are three scenarios where it will make money. The fourth scenario is if it drops below 29.50, then of course it's not going to result in profit. And you construct it via selling a put, higher price, and buying another put, because that hedges your position. So 29.50, 29.30 is based upon what Desmond would probably do on Amazon, which is sitting on 200-day moving average currently. And that price happens to be what price currently, Desmond, on Amazon?
6.17. You mean the credit, right? Credit receipt.
The credit is $6.17, is it? So
now,
the risk here is because you have the spread, which is $20, 29.50 and 29.30. So $20 is the maximum loss, but you're receiving $6 credit, which means that your maximum risk is now only $13.83. So $6 divided by $13, this means approximately 45% profit approximately on this.
Yeah.
And what will be the duration for this trade roughly?
We'll pick the 16th April DT.
16th April DT, which is approximately 45 days from now.
That's
and where is Amazon currently? What price is Amazon?
It is 3092.
3092. So we are selling 29.50, which is approximately $150 below, roughly $150 below the current price. So you have a margin of safety of $150, and this trade allows you to generate approximately 40% and more on this trade if you hold on till March, till 16th April. But you should only open this trade if you are comfortable with the risk. And if you happen to watch this video at the time when we are recording this video, because by the time you watch it, Amazon may be on a different strike. But the system that Desmond just shared with you is that you find out a support area, which in this case happens to be 200-day moving average, and then you build a trade which has sufficient margin of safety, which in this case is 29.50, 29.30, and then you're collecting good premium. So that's how you build odds in your favor. And you may say, okay, Amazon still dropped below 3,000 and you still made money because it expired still above your short strike. Any other things, Desmond, that you think will be useful to the viewers who are watching from a trade structure perspective?
From the trade structure perspective, okay, I think what will be helpful is that be it as an investor or as a trader, don't just look at the daily time frames. Look at the weekly time frames, look at the monthly time frames, and see whether there are any other major supports or resistance. Don't just depend on one chart to determine where to put your strikes.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point as well. To look at multiple time frames for your position to build and see where is the most likely turning point.
That's right.
Wow, that's interesting. So I hope viewers you are enjoying. And let me ask a question on my viewers' behalf, Desmond. Give us like 4 or 5 your favorite growth stocks.
4 or 5? Wow, that's a lot. Let me think. Shopify, SE, Lemonade, CrowdStrike.
Lemonade stock symbol is LMND.
Yeah. CrowdStrike.
CrowdStrike stock symbol is CRWD.
Palantir, PLTR.
Palantir, the stock symbol is PLTR.
And Snow.
and snow is snowflakes, and the stock symbol is SNOW. So you've got 5 stocks. And if you were to recommend any good strategy on these 5, what that strategy will be?
I will do a diagonal.
Diagonal spread. So for those who do not know diagonal spread, that's where you are actually buying a long-term option and then you are selling a short-term against that particular position. And you make money because of either delta differences or because of the time decay that is happening in that position.
Yeah.
Wow, this is really good, and I hope my viewers are learning. And if you're learning, please write in the chat box, in the comment section, and give a shout out to Desmond for sharing his favorite strategies, his favorite stocks, and how you can build some particular trade setups on that. Any other favorite strategies that you have, Desmond?
Favorite strategies? No, I think I've mentioned most of them already.
So vertical spreads, condors, diagonals, and the butterflies to build in. Very good. Now, I would also like to know now a few things, primarily from your education perspective. How has your experience been with OptionPundit education?
It's very enriching, and I think it opens up my mind to different perspectives. So just now, in fact, just before this interview, I was watching through all the different market wizards interview again, and then Judy reminded me of Caterpillar, and then I remember the first time I watched the interview, I was like, hey, yeah, Caterpillar is such a boring stock. Then after that, a few months later, I actually went to revisit the stock. Then I realized, hey, actually, the charts look very good. It's a very what I call a fluent stock in a sense in terms of price action wise. So after that, I changed my mind and I say that, hey, actually, my entire portfolio doesn't have to be about growth,
Yeah.
As long as it makes money, I don't care. I don't know what you call it. As long I will just, I'll just put my bets on it. Yeah. So now, Caterpillar can be one of my favorite stocks as well. Yeah. So I think it's interesting that different people coming together and then they have all their own different styles. And even though you think that, hey, just because I'm growth doesn't mean that I will stick to growth forever.
Yeah.
I mean, when everyone comes together, you have a lot of different sharings lah. And then we learn from each other's lessons as well, in a sense. So I think it's a pretty good experience. Yeah.
And from a program structure perspective, did you enjoy like the multiple strategies and how these are coming close?
Yeah. So the part on the structure wise, I think is also very interesting. I think that you have shown many different ways to hedge the portfolio, and I remember the reason why I came to you in the first place was at that point of time the market was very bullish and I was earning a hell lot of money and the reason why I came to you was that my number one objective is to protect my portfolio. I don't want to lose my profits, so I want to learn how to hedge immediately. Yeah. And I think you really taught quite a few of these hedging strategies, and I think it will help in the years to come when the market really tanks very badly. Yeah.
And I'm so glad that not only you protected, you actually tripled your portfolio as well. So I also feel very proud what you have achieved. And for me, as to have you mentee is also a feeling of great satisfaction. That if we put our heart and soul into it and we really make it work and we keep our eyes always on risk, then we can take care of profits. But it's only the time when we take our eyes off from the risk is the time when it really hits hard.
That's right.
Now, based on your journey and multiple experiences, what do you think are like few characters or few things that new traders need to have to become like really good in trading and investing?
I think one of the common issues that beginners face is they will have this thing what we call a label gun. What I mean by a label gun is that, for example, you enter my Amazon trade today, right? And let's just say Amazon tanks today below 200 SMA. How will you feel? And will you say that, oh, Desmond sucks, he put me into this predicament, he made me lose $1,000, he didn't warn me about the risk of it collapsing to zero, all these kind of things. So some of these people, they will have this so-called victim mindset in that sense, and I think it's pretty dangerous because if you are stuck in that mode, then you wouldn't be able to learn anything from this so-called situation. What you should do is to drop your label gun if it doesn't serve you. Basically, you don't say it is a good thing or it is a bad thing. It simply is. Yeah. So the next step is what can you do about it? How can you learn from it? And I think the number one thing that any trader should do is reflection. And that's why you see in all the different interviews, a lot of people will talk about having a trading journal. And this has been I would say that this is the hardest thing to convince, traders to have. Because when you're making money, right,
Yeah.
no matter how I try to convince you, you say, are you crazy? Why do I need a trading journal? I'm making like 100,000. Why do I need that, right? It's only when the market comes crashing, then you realize that, hey, actually, I don't have any of all these records. I don't know what went wrong and what's my trading style and what led to all these issues.
Yeah.
So I think reflection is really one of the most important things that we should have as traders. Yeah.
Anything else you would like to share? I think both of those points are really, really good points.
Yeah. In
I
fact,
just want to know more and more about you and get more and more things
yeah, I'm
I
happy
think
to
would be
share.
helpful.
Yeah, in fact, I have two other things to share. And
Yeah, sure.
and that is not really it's not directly related to options trading, but it's zooming out, and I think that health over wealth is very important. Yeah, it's not about money. It's not just about money, and I would say that good health gives you a clear mind to trade and invest.
Yeah.
And it is the glue that holds all the aspects of your life together. Including your wealth and your relationships. So every day I will, or other than doing my research, I will meditate every day as well. I will exercise on 135. I will try to do my journal daily as well. Sometimes I might miss it because I'm human after all, but I will try to do it anyway. Yeah. So this I think this is very important. Don't sacrifice your health over it, and don't just make money for the sake of making money.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is the amount of profit that you make shouldn't be the end goal. You should ask yourself, why are you doing this in the first place? For me, it's about personal growth, and I really enjoy trading options a lot, right? Because every time I put down a trade, the market gives me immediate feedback. Then I know whether I'm doing something right or I'm doing something wrong. So the market is my best mentor, in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and no other spot I can think of can actually give you that immediate feedback whether you're doing things right or wrong. And then after that, you can actually improve pretty fast from there. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I think this is absolutely critical. The point you mentioned. As a trader, sometimes you are sitting for long hours. You mean in general, anyone?
Yeah.
If you're sitting for long hours and you don't pay attention to the health, then it can actually affect. And it will affect your thinking. It will affect your decision-making ability. And you may not notice it during the normal time, but especially during the times of panic, especially when positions are going against you, you will need some clear-cut thinking. You will need clear decision-making. Otherwise, decision making will choke, your palms, will start to sweat, and then you won't be able to pull the trigger if you were to pull the trigger during that time. Now, as you're talking about this, Desmond, so what is it that you would like to do with the money once you have reached your goal? What's your plan? What are the things you want to do with the money?
Yeah. So in fact, last year I have been donating quite frequently to different organizations, and I think at the heart of it is really education. And I think that education sets people free, regardless of where you are currently in the stage of your life. Definitely there's a way to break through the cycle in a sense, and I truly believe in that cause. And then I think moving forward I will actually offer free coaching for those people who are actually disadvantaged or from low income families. I would like to teach them a skill that can last them for life. Yeah, and that's I think that would be pretty meaningful. Yeah.
Very, very nice, very noble cause, and I wish you all the best to do that.
Yeah.
And as you know that in OPIC or Inner Circle program, as well as other programs, we have what we call, once you hit $50,000 profit, please sponsor a child for their education. And there are many organizations in each country. And I feel so blessed for those viewers who are watching it, and especially those who are already incredibly supporting it. I know many of you, my wizards and my rising stars, you are watching it. I'm very, very proud of you that you support kids, you support the communities around you, and we make a difference. That is true capitalism, not just the profit for yourself, but bringing in and making a difference in the people around you as well. And that takes us places. That is truly rewarding too. Anything else, Desmond, that you would like to share? I think this has been an incredible conversation. Anything else you would like to share?
I think I can go on forever, man, because I have so many points in my journal.
Yeah, that is okay. That is okay. It is my show. Don't worry. If you've got something that you think
Yeah.
will be helpful, benefit, you want to give a message, yeah, please
Yeah,
feel free.
maybe just ending thoughts.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think regardless of how far you have come in your trading journey, you should always stay humble.
Yeah.
And I think the most dangerous traders are the ones who don't know what they are doing, yet they have tremendous positive results in their trading. Because these are basically the ones who will not listen to your advice, and they will think that, hey, they are better than everyone else in the world. And this will become your downfall if you don't actually keep yourself in check, lah. Yeah, and you know, be humbled by the markets in that sense. Yeah, so always stay humble, always be learning. Yeah, and I think that's it.
Yeah, I think those are very, very good point. And so those who are watching, we have this saying also we call, and it's inspired from Mr. Steve Jobs. Basically, you stay humble and you stay foolish. Now, here, when we say foolish, we are actually referring to the risk management. That you stay humble, but you keep a close eye on your risk always, always. Okay, because the moment you take care of risk, of course, profits will come. But the risk actually comes in when you are not releasing. So I like to say this as well. I call it risk never sleeps. And that's true. For entire portfolio, you have to manage whether risk in terms of direction, whether risk in terms of positions, whether risk in terms of margin, whether risk in terms of over allocation, or even the risk of you own not being available. And what do you mean by that? For example, if you're traveling and you have this travel plan where you have wonderful plans, but you have all the positions open. And when you are traveling, what will you do? Either you will keep watching your phone, keep looking at your positions, and spoil your travel, your well-deserved travel for the sake of those positions. So that's a risk, right? You yourself are becoming a risk. So better close those positions, have fun, enjoy the travel, come back and make money again. Markets are there, will always be there. Your capital may or may not be. So that's the variable that you want to make sure you control. I think we have lot many things from this Market Wizard interview today. And for those viewers who are watching it, if you have any questions, anything, please feel free to write that into the comment section. I will encourage Desmond to once in a while visit and respond if you have any questions out there. If there is anything, is there any way that we could help you out? Please feel free to raise that as well. And once again, trading is fantastic, but you got to be very close to your capital. You got to preserve the capital, and then opportunity comes only after that. Anything else, Desmond, before we wrap up?
No.
Yeah, all good. Okay.
Yeah.
So with all that, we're coming to the close. And for those who are watching this, hope you enjoyed. Let us know how you like the show, and maybe who else you would like to have on the show. What else would you like us to cover into these interviews as well? We'll be more than happy. And I wish you all the very best. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep watching it in the moment for the moment. This is Manoj, and I wish you all the very best. Happy trading, profitable trading. See you in the next episode.